The stars above the planet Arkan burned like cold fire, silent and distant. For centuries, the Xelyth Empire had believed they were the most advanced civilization in this part of the galaxy. Their technology could bend gravity, heal any wound, and even change memories. They had conquered dozens of worlds without a single loss, but all of that changed the day they found Earth. It began as a simple exploration mission. A Xelyth scout ship detected strange radio signals coming from a blue-green planet in the Milky Way. At first, they thought it was another primitive world with nothing to fear. The ship's commander, Lir'ra, ordered her crew to prepare for standard contact, scan, analyze, and report. No one expected resistance. No one even considered humans as a threat. But when the Xelyth ships entered orbit, the humans did something unexpected. Instead of hiding or begging for peace, they fought back. Missiles roared into the sky from every continent. Old metal machines, crude by Xelyth standards, shot fire into space. The alien fleet laughed at first. Their shields were impenetrable, their weapons beyond anything humans could imagine. But then, something strange happened. The humans didn't stop. Even when their cities burned and their ships fell, they kept fighting. They fought with rage, with hope, with something the Xelyth had never seen before. Lir'ra watched in confusion as her scanners showed human soldiers fighting on every front. "They do not retreat," she whispered. "Even when there is no chance to win," her science officer Valen responded in a calm voice. "It's not logical, Commander. They must be driven by primitive instinct." But deep down, Lir'ra knew it was something more, something she could not understand. The war lasted only 6 days. The Xelyth won, of course. They always did. But the cost was greater than anyone expected. Dozens of ships destroyed, thousands of soldiers lost, and all because of a species that had only just begun to travel to their own moon. After the war, Earth was silent. The skies cleared, the fires faded, and the humans vanished underground. The Xelyth ships hovered over the ruins, scanning for survivors. Lir'ra received the final order from her high command: capture one human for study. That was how the story began. Not with peace, not with friendship, but with curiosity. A week later, Lir'ra's team found him, a lone human soldier, wounded but alive, hiding inside a collapsed bunker. His name was Captain Daniel Hayes. He had refused to surrender even when everyone else was gone. When the aliens surrounded him, he did not beg. He simply said, "Do what you have to do." They took him aboard the ship, locking him in a clean, white chamber surrounded by light. He didn't speak much, only watched them with cold eyes. The aliens scanned his body, trying to understand how a fragile creature like him could fight with such strength. His blood, his bones, his heart, everything seemed ordinary. But there was something about his spirit that the machines couldn't measure. Lir'ra visited him often. She told herself it was just scientific curiosity, but it wasn't true. She wanted to understand him, this strange being who defied logic and pain. One day she entered the observation room, her silver eyes glowing softly in the artificial light. Daniel sat silently, staring through the glass. Lir'ra hesitated before asking, "Why do your people fight like this? Even when you know you will lose?" Daniel looked up slowly. His voice was calm, steady. "Because sometimes losing isn't the worst thing. Giving up is." Lir'ra didn't understand. To her, defeat meant death. But to this human, it meant something different. She left the room with a strange feeling in her chest, something she hadn't felt before. That night, as the Xelyth fleet drifted above the quiet Earth, Lir'ra stood by the window looking at the planet below. She wondered what kind of creatures humans really were. Fragile, yes. Primitive, yes. But there was something powerful hiding inside them. Something even the Xelyth Empire might fear. And for the first time in her life, Lir'ra was not sure who the real victors of this war were. The cold white light of the alien ship flickered softly against the walls. Daniel Hayes sat on the narrow bench in his containment cell, staring at nothing. His wounds had healed thanks to whatever strange technology they used, but the silence was heavier than pain. He had not spoken in days. The aliens came, scanned him, asked questions he didn't answer, then left. They looked like humans but weren't. Their eyes glowed faintly, their skin shimmered under light, and their voices were calm like machines pretending to feel. Commander Lir'ra stood outside the transparent barrier, watching him again. She told herself it was research. The human was valuable. His species was strange, unpredictable, dangerous. But deep down she knew it wasn't just that. There was something about the way he sat, still, silent, unbroken, that made her uneasy. "Begin phase 2, said Velan, the science officer beside her. His tone was cold, logical. "We need to understand how his mind works." Lir'ra hesitated. "No harm?" "Of course not," Velan replied, though his smile was too thin to trust. The machines hummed. A soft blue light scanned Daniel's body from head to toe. The display showed endless data streams, brain patterns, pulse, chemical reactions. But then something strange happened. The scanner beeped rapidly and the light turned red. "What is that?" Lir'ra asked. Velan frowned. His heart rate increased. His brain activity spiked and he's thinking of something. Emotional. Daniel stood up slowly, his eyes fixed on the window. "You don't need to scan me," he said quietly. His voice broke the silence like thunder. "Just ask." Lir'ra stepped closer. "You will answer?" He nodded slightly. "If it means you'll stop treating me like a machine." The translator earpiece turned his words into soft, melodic alien language. Lir'ra blinked, unsure how to respond. It was rare for captives to talk so calmly without fear. "Then tell me," she said, "why did your people fight us when you had no chance to win?" Daniel laughed softly, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Because we don't fight to win. We fight to survive. Sometimes that's enough." Lir'ra tilted her head. "Survive? Even when defeat is certain?" "Yes," he said. "Because every time we survive, we learn something. Every scar teaches us how to fight better next time." For a long moment, she said nothing. The answer didn't fit her logic. Her people didn't fight unless victory was guaranteed. They didn't understand struggle or courage born from fear. She ended the session early, but Daniel's words stayed with her. Later, in her quarters, she looked at the Earth through the viewing glass. The planet still glowed faintly with fires and storm clouds. "Survive," she whispered. It was a word that felt heavy on her tongue. What did it mean to fight knowing you would lose? Her thoughts were interrupted when the ship's alarm flashed red. "Containment breach in Sector 9, a voice called through the intercom. Lir'ra ran to the control deck. "Report." Velan's voice came through the comms. "It's the human. He's out." Her heart jumped. "How?" He bypassed the scanner field. "Primitive but effective. He's armed with a steel pipe. We're locking down all corridors." Lir'ra rushed toward the detention wing. The corridors glowed red, shadows flickering on the walls. She found Daniel near the airlock door, breathing hard, the metal pipe still in his hand. He didn't attack her, he just looked exhausted. "Where do you think you can go?" she said softly. Daniel pointed toward the window showing the stars. "Anywhere but here. You'll die in space," he shrugged. "Better than being your experiment." Lir'ra stepped closer slowly, her hands raised. "I'm not your enemy, Daniel." He glared at her. "Your ships destroyed my planet," she didn't argue. The silence between them felt colder than the metal walls. Then, for a reason she couldn't explain, she deactivated her weapon and lowered her guard. "Come with me," she said. "You don't have to die." Daniel hesitated, eyes narrowing. "Why should I trust you?" "Because," she said quietly, "I want to understand you. Not kill you." He studied her face and the strange silver glow of her eyes, the calm tone that didn't sound like a soldier's. Finally, he dropped the pipe. "Fine, but if you lie to me, I'll find a way out next time." Lir'ra nodded. "Understood." They walked together through the silent corridor. For the first time, Daniel wasn't just a prisoner. He was something else, a mystery she wanted to solve, a spark of something she couldn't name. As they entered the research chamber, Velan was waiting, furious. "You brought him here without guards?" "He came willingly," Lir'ra said. "That is foolish," Velan snapped. "Humans are dangerous. They act without logic." "Maybe that's what makes them powerful," Lir'ra replied. Daniel looked around the glowing room, full of strange alien instruments. "So," he said, "what now?" Lir'ra looked at him with quiet curiosity. "Now, human, we begin to understand each other." And somewhere deep inside the alien ship, the first spark of something new was born. Not war, not peace, but curiosity. The kind that could change everything. The alien ship floated silently above the wounded Earth. From space, the planet looked peaceful. Blue oceans, white clouds, golden deserts. But beneath that beauty was silence. Cities in ruins, signals gone. Humanity was broken but not defeated. Inside the ship, the air was clean and cold. Lights hummed softly. The alien technology made no sound, yet everything moved with perfect order. Commander Lir'ra stood beside the control table, her hands resting on the glass surface glowing with symbols. Daniel sat across from her, his wrists no longer chained but still watched closely by guards. He didn't speak much. His eyes followed everything, the doors, the lights, the machines, and especially her. Velan, the science officer, tapped on his tablet. "We begin neural mapping," he said. "To understand how humans think, we need to read his memory." Daniel frowned. "You mean, get inside my head?" "Yes," Velan replied without emotion. "It will not hurt, much." Lir'ra stepped between them. "Enough, we'll start slow. Observation first, no direct link," Velan sighed. "Commander, that will take weeks." "Then we'll take weeks," she said firmly. The guards left. The room became quiet again. Daniel looked at her, unsure whether to thank her or distrust her even more. "Why are you helping me?" he asked. Lir'ra turned toward him, her silver hair shining under the white light. "Because I need to understand you before my people destroy what's left of your kind." Daniel gave a half smile. "You talk like someone who's already lost faith in her own side." She didn't answer. Instead, she activated a holographic display. Images appeared. Human soldiers fighting, cities burning, people holding hands before the bombs fell. "We found these in your networks," she said softly. "You kept fighting even when there was nothing left to fight for." "Why?" Daniel stared at the images. His throat tightened. "Because we fight for each other, not for orders, not for power, just for the people beside us." Lir'ra studied him, fascinated. "That is illogical. Sacrificing yourself for another." He looked at her. "Maybe, but it's what makes us human." She turned off the hologram and walked closer, her glowing eyes reflecting his face. For a moment there was no war, no walls, no difference between species, just two beings trying to understand each other. Then Velan's voice broke through the intercom. "Commander, the Council demands progress." "They want the human tested." Lir'ra's expression hardened. "Tell them I'm handling it." "The Council does not wait," Velan replied sharply. "If you don't obey, they will send someone who will." The communication ended with a click. The silence between Lir'ra and Daniel grew heavier. Daniel said quietly, "Sounds like your bosses don't like delays." "They don't like weakness," she answered. "So what happens now?" he asked. She took a deep breath. "Now we run an experiment, but not the one they expect." She led him to a side chamber. Inside there was a small glass pod filled with soft light. "This is an empathy field," she explained. "It allows two minds to share emotions and not thoughts, only feelings. Maybe if we use it, I can understand what drives your kind." Daniel hesitated. "Sounds risky." "It is," she said. "For both of us." He gave a small shrug. "Why not? Let's see what happens." They both stepped into the glowing circle. The light rose slowly, wrapping around them like mist. The air vibrated gently, and Daniel felt a strange warmth in his chest. Then he saw flashes, not with his eyes, but with his mind. Memories, not his own. He saw Lir'ra as a child, standing in a silver city floating above clouds. He felt her loneliness, her desire to prove herself to her people. Then he felt her fear, not of humans, but of failure. The pain of obeying orders she didn't believe in. He gasped softly. At the same time, Lir'ra saw into him, flashes of war, laughter, loss. She saw Daniel holding his dying friend on the battlefield, promising to keep fighting. She felt his sorrow, his anger, his compassion. It was overwhelming. The light faded slowly. They both stepped back, breathing hard. For a long moment, neither spoke. Lir'ra finally whispered, "Your mind. It's full of chaos." Daniel smiled weakly. "Welcome to being human." She looked at him, her voice trembling slightly. "You feel pain, but you also feel hope, even in the middle of destruction." He nodded. "That's what keeps us alive." Lir'ra turned away, hiding her thoughts. For the first time, she understood why her people feared humans, not because of their weapons, but because of their hearts. Suddenly, Velan stormed into the chamber. "Commander, what have you done?" He looked furious. "Unauthorized neural connection. The Council will..." "Enough," she said coldly. "The experiment worked." Velan glared at Daniel. "He's manipulating you." Daniel raised his hands. "Hey, I didn't do anything." Velan stepped closer, his voice sharp. "You don't belong here, human. You're a danger to us all. Maybe, Daniel said quietly. Or maybe I'm the reason you'll finally learn something. Lir'ra stood between them. This discussion is over. End of session. Valan left, his eyes full of hate. The door sealed shut behind him. Daniel looked at her. You just risked your career for me, she smiled faintly. Maybe understanding you is worth it. For a moment, neither of them moved. The war outside seemed far away now. Just two souls, alien and human, standing on the edge of something new. Something dangerous, and somewhere deep inside the ship, the council began to take notice. The stars outside the viewing deck stretched like rivers of silver light. Commander Lir'ra stood motionless, her hands clasped behind her back, staring at the quiet blue planet below. Earth looked peaceful again, but she knew peace was a lie. Inside the ship, tension was rising, not from humans, but from her own people. The door slid open behind her. Valan entered, his footsteps sharp against the metal floor. The council is angry, he said flatly. They know about your empathy experiment. I expected that, Lir'ra replied without turning. They are calling it treason, Valan continued. You shared a neural field with a dangerous enemy. You could have infected yourself with human thoughts. Lir'ra turned slowly, her silver eyes calm but cold. Infected? Is that what you call understanding? Valan frowned. Understanding is not our goal. Control is. You are letting him confuse you. Maybe confusion is necessary, she said softly. Maybe that's how we learn. Valan slammed his hand on the console. You sound like them. Emotional, unstable. Do you even remember who you are, Commander? Her jaw tightened, but she didn't respond. Instead, she walked past him toward the exit. Prepare the human for transfer, she ordered. I'll speak to the council myself. Valan watched her go, anger and something darker flickering in his eyes. Hours later, Lir'ra entered the grand communication chamber. The air shimmered with golden light as 12 alien figures appeared in holographic form around her. The Xelyth High Council. Their voices echoed together, soft but commanding. Commander Lir'ra of the Fourth Fleet, one of them spoke. You have broken protocol. You shared mind contact with a human subject. Explain yourself. Lir'ra stood straight. I did what was necessary. Our methods failed to understand their strength. Empathy worked. Empathy, another voice hissed. A human weakness. You risk contamination. With respect, Lir'ra said calmly, it is not weakness. It is survival. Their emotions give them power. You saw how they fought. They survived destruction because of it. The chamber fell silent for a moment. Then the central hologram leaned forward. You have grown too close to this human. You will terminate the experiment immediately and deliver him to Central Command for full dissection. Lir'ra's heart froze. Dissection? It is the only way to learn, the voice replied. We cannot allow this species to become a threat. Her hands tightened into fists. That is not learning. That is fear. The holograms flickered, their faces cold and expressionless. Defiance will not be tolerated. You have one rotation to comply. Fail, and you will be removed from command. The lights faded. The chamber went dark. Lir'ra stood there, trembling, not from fear of punishment, but from what she had just heard. Her people were terrified of humans, and terrified beings make dangerous choices. Back in the containment room, Daniel paced slowly, his eyes following the humming lights above. He had learned a little about the ship, enough to know he was deep inside it with no way out. But something told him that Lir'ra was different from the rest. When the door opened and she stepped in, he knew by her face that something was wrong. What happened? He asked. The council gave their order, she said quietly. You are to be studied. Completely, Daniel frowned.
Studied how?
Her silence was answer enough. He laughed bitterly. So that's it. I was right, I'm just a lab rat. Lir'ra stepped closer, her voice trembling slightly. I can stop it. But I need your trust, he stared at her. Trust after everything? Yes, she said. Because I'm risking everything too. Daniel looked at her eyes, those strange silver eyes that now carried something almost human inside them. He nodded slowly. All right, Commander. What's the plan? She lowered her voice. The ship is scheduled to jump to the homeworld in 2 cycles. Before that, we must reach the lower bay and escape in a cargo pod. It's small, but it will reach your planet's orbit. Daniel frowned. You're helping me escape? That's suicide, she gave a faint smile. Maybe, but if understanding you is treason, then I choose treason. For a moment, they just stood there, staring at each other, human and alien, enemies turned into something else neither could name. Then she handed him a small device. "Keep this. It will hide your life signs from the sensors." He took it carefully. "And what about you?" "I'll face the council," she said. "But first I'll get you out." The alarm suddenly blared, a sharp red light filling the room. Phelan's voice echoed through the comms. "Security breach detected in containment sector." "Commander Lir'ra, you are ordered to stand down." Daniel clenched his jaw. He knows. Lir'ra activated a control on her wristband. The cell barrier vanished with a hiss. "Then we move now." They ran through the narrow corridors, alarms flashing, voices shouting through the intercom. Guards turned corners, but Lir'ra moved fast, disabling security fields before they arrived. Daniel followed her, his heart racing. The air was alive with sirens and the pounding of footsteps. Finally, they reached the docking bay. The massive window showed Earth below, glowing blue in the dark. For a second, Daniel stopped, staring at his home. "Go!" Lir'ra shouted, activating the escape pod's door. He turned to her. "Come with me." She hesitated. "I can't. If I disappear, they'll hunt us both. But if I stay, maybe I can slow them down." He stepped closer. "You'll die," she smiled faintly. "Then at least it will mean something." Before Daniel could argue, Velan appeared at the upper deck, weapon in hand. "Traitor!" he shouted. "You doom us all." Lir'ra fired her blaster, hitting the railing beside him. "Go, Daniel," she yelled. The pod door closed with a heavy thud. Through the glass, Daniel saw her, standing tall, defiant, facing her own people. The engines ignited and the pod shot into the darkness. As the ship grew smaller behind him, Daniel whispered to himself, "She's not the monster they think she is." And far above Earth, in the heart of the Xelyth flagship, Commander Lir'ra turned slowly toward Velan, eyes burning with quiet fire. The war wasn't over. It was only beginning. The escape pod blazed through the clouds like a falling star. Flames wrapped around its shell as it cut through the sky, crashing deep into the mountains of northern Canada. The impact shook the ground, scattering snow and smoke. For a long moment, everything was quiet again. Then the door hissed open. Daniel Hayes stumbled out, coughing. His uniform was torn, his hands bruised, but he was alive. Cold air hit his face like ice. He looked around. Mountains stretched endlessly, white and silent. The sky was pale gray and the world smelled like smoke and ash. He had made it home, but it wasn't the home he remembered. He pulled a small device from his pocket, the one Lir'ra gave him. It still blinked softly, hiding him from alien scanners. "Guess you kept your promise," he whispered.
He didn't know if she was alive.
He didn't know if she'd ever hear him. But somewhere up there among the stars, she was fighting her own war. Daniel started walking through the snow. His breath came in short bursts and his boots crunched on frozen ground. He didn't know how long he walked, but finally he saw smoke, a sign of fire. He followed it until he found a small human camp hidden between the rocks. Old tents, makeshift shelters, and people, real people and alive. When they saw him, they froze. A woman stepped forward, pointing an old rifle. "Stop right there. Identify yourself." "Captain Daniel Hayes," he said, raising his hands. "United Earth Defense," her eyes widened. "You're supposed to be dead." "Yeah," he said quietly. "I get that a lot." They brought him inside the camp. There were about 30 survivors, soldiers, engineers, and civilians. They had been hiding for months since the war ended. Supplies were low, morale even lower, but when they realized Daniel had been aboard an alien ship and survived, everyone wanted to know what he saw. "Are they coming back?" someone asked. Daniel stared into the fire. They never left. The camp went silent. Only the wind howled outside. After a while, the woman with the rifle, her name was Sarah, sat beside him. "You saw them up close," she said softly. "What are they like?" Daniel thought for a moment. "They're complicated. Not all of them want war. Some are just following orders. And one of them saved my life." Sarah looked at him surprised. "An alien saved you?" He nodded. "Yeah, she risked everything to let me go." Sarah frowned. "Why would she do that?" Daniel looked at the night sky, where a faint glimmer of light marked the alien fleet. Maybe she saw something in us. Something her people forgot how to feel. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. He kept seeing her face, Lir'ra's calm eyes, her soft voice, the glow of the ship lights fading behind him. He wondered if she was still alive. He wondered if she regretted letting him go, but before he could think more, a low rumble shook the ground. The survivors rushed outside. In the distance, the clouds were glowing, not with fire but with light. Green and white streaks danced across the sky, moving too fast to be natural. Sarah whispered, "They're back." Daniel's heart sank. "No," he said slowly, watching the lights. "That's not them. It's something else." A strange sound echoed, like thunder and wind mixed together. The air shimmered. Then, for a moment, Daniel saw something that made his blood run cold. A massive shadow above the clouds. Not one ship, but hundreds. And they weren't Xelyth. The lights vanished as quickly as they came. The sky went dark again. Sarah turned to him. "What was that?" Daniel took a deep breath. "I don't know, but if it's not them, it means there's more out there." The group fell silent. Humanity had barely survived one war, and now something new was coming. Later, Daniel sat alone by the fire, turning the small device in his hand. He pressed its side out of curiosity, and it flickered to life. A hologram appeared, faint but real. It was Lir'ra. Her voice was quiet, broken by static. "Daniel, if you are hearing this, I've failed. The Council knows what I did. They've sent a fleet, not just to capture you, but to destroy what's left of Earth. You must hide. Do not fight them head on. There is another species coming, one even we fear. If you survive, find the signal. It will lead you to me." The message ended. Daniel sat frozen, staring at the small blinking light. She was alive, but she was in danger. And now Earth was too. Sarah approached him. "What did it say?" Daniel looked up, determination hardening his face. "It said we're not done yet." He stood facing the mountains. The cold wind blew through the camp, but inside his chest burned a quiet fire. The same fire Lir'ra saw in him. The war might have ended, but humanity's fight for survival had just begun. Above the clouds, far beyond the stars, the next chapter of the war was already unfolding. The snowstorm howled across the mountains, shaking the tents and scattering ash from the dying fire. Daniel sat inside the main shelter, the small alien device in his hands glowing faintly blue. He kept replaying Lir'ra's hologram message, each word burning deeper into his mind. "Find the signal. It will lead you to me." The survivors gathered around him. Sarah leaned closer, her eyes reflecting the blue light. "What signal?" She didn't say where. Daniel turned the device over carefully. "No, but she said it would lead us. That means it's already transmitting something." An engineer named Malik checked the scanner hooked to an old laptop. "If it's broadcasting, I can try to track it. But alien tech and human tech don't exactly talk to each other." "Then we'll make them talk," Daniel said. "Try to link it." Malik smiled faintly. "Yes, sir. Just don't expect fireworks." They connected the glowing crystal to the machine. At first, the screen showed nothing but static. Then lines of strange alien symbols flickered across the monitor, repeating patterns, looping endlessly. Malik frowned. "It's some kind of code. But look here." He pointed to the bottom corner. "That waveform. It's repeating every 5 seconds, like a pulse, a beacon," Sarah said softly. "It's calling to something." Daniel nodded slowly. "Or someone." He remembered Lir'ra's words, her calm voice, the fear she tried to hide. She had said another species was coming, one even the Xelyth feared. Maybe this signal wasn't just a message. Maybe it was a warning. "Can you trace it?" Daniel asked. Malik typed quickly, eyes darting across the screen. "It's bouncing between satellites, old ones. But the source is not from space. It's from down here." "Where?" Daniel leaned forward. Malik zoomed in on the map. "Antarctica." The group fell silent. The name itself carried cold and danger. Sarah shook her head. "That's suicide. The South Pole's a wasteland now. Radiation storms, no comms, no fuel." Daniel stared at the glowing dot on the screen. "Then that's exactly where she'd hide." Sarah sighed. "You really trust her, don't you?" He looked up, meeting her eyes. "She saved my life when she didn't have to. I owe her that much." Malik crossed his arms. "Even if we make it there, what do you expect to find? Another alien ship, a trap?" Daniel's voice was steady. "I don't know. But if there's even a chance to stop what's coming, we have to try." The group exchanged nervous looks. Finally, Sarah nodded. "Then we move at dawn." The journey south was brutal. The cold winds cut through their clothes, and the roads were covered in snow and ice. They found an old military vehicle half buried under rubble, repaired it, and started driving across the frozen wasteland. For days they saw nothing but endless white. The world felt empty, like the last breath of a dying planet. One night, as they camped near a broken communication tower, Daniel sat awake by the fire. He looked up at the stars, the same stars he once saw from space. Somewhere up there, Lir'ra was still fighting. He wondered if she could see Earth from where she was. Sarah sat beside him. "You really think she's alive?" He nodded. "Yeah, I can feel it." Sarah smiled faintly. "You sound like her signal." He chuckled softly. "Maybe I'm just as crazy." Before either could say more, Malik rushed out of the tent. "Captain, the beacon, it's changing." They ran to the scanner. The signal was pulsing faster now, and the tone had shifted to a low hum. "It's guiding us," Malik said. "The frequency is adjusting to our position." Daniel looked at the map. "Then it knows we're coming." They continued driving for 3 more days. The snow grew heavier. The sky turned dark. Then through the storm they saw something. A faint blue light glowing beneath the ice. It pulsed slowly, the same rhythm as the beacon. Daniel's heart raced. That's it. They stopped the vehicle and stepped out into the freezing wind. The light was coming from a giant crack in the ice, a tunnel leading deep underground. Malik scanned it. Energy readings are off the charts. This isn't human tech. Daniel adjusted his gloves. Then it's hers. They followed the light down into the tunnel. The deeper they went, the warmer it became. The walls glowed faintly like glass lit from within. Finally, they reached a massive chamber carved into the ice. In the center stood something that took their breath away. A ship. It wasn't like the Xelyth vessels. This one was smaller, sleeker, and shaped like a silver crescent. Its surface shimmered with alien symbols, and at its heart burned a faint blue core. Sarah whispered, "Is that hers?" Daniel stepped closer, placing his hand on the surface. The ship responded instantly, lights rippling across its body. The device in his hand glowed brighter, syncing with the ship's rhythm. Then a soft hologram appeared in front of him. Lir'ra. Her image flickered, but her voice was clear. "Daniel, if you found this place, it means I am gone, or worse. This ship is yours now. It holds everything I couldn't give you. Knowledge, coordinates, and a weapon strong enough to defend your world. But use it wisely, because what's coming is not the Xelyth. It's something older." The hologram faded. Daniel stood frozen, his breath trembling in the cold air. The others stared at him, waiting for him to speak. He looked at them slowly. "We're not running anymore. We're taking the fight to them." The chamber lights flared brighter, as if the ship itself heard his words. The survivors gathered around, their faces glowing with hope for the first time in months. Somewhere, far above in the endless sky, the war for humanity was about to begin again. And this time, Earth wasn't alone. The frozen chamber trembled as the ship's blue light pulsed faster, echoing through the walls like a heartbeat. Daniel stood before it, his hand still resting on the shimmering metal. The alien ship responded to his touch, glowing brighter, alive as if it recognized him. The survivors watched in silence. Sarah whispered, "It's..." Waking up, Malik checked his scanner. Power surge increasing. Energy levels are off the scale. "Captain, whatever this thing is, it's not just a ship. It's something else." Daniel took a step back, eyes fixed on the light. "Then let's find out what Lir'ra left for us." The ground rumbled softly. The ship's outer shell began to shift, opening like petals of a glowing flower. Inside was a sleek control core, surrounded by floating lights and alien glyphs spinning slowly in the air. A smooth metallic chair rose from the center, glowing faintly. Daniel walked toward it, drawn by something he couldn't explain. He touched the console, and instantly light flooded his vision. He was surrounded by stars, not real ones, but projections. A map of the galaxy. Lines of light connected dozens of systems, but one symbol burned brighter than the rest. Earth. A voice echoed in his mind. It was Lir'ra's. "This ship is part of an older network, built long before my people. The Xelyth found it, studied it, but never understood its purpose. I believe it was made by the same beings that created the first stars we colonized. If you are hearing this, Daniel, then the Ancient Ones have awakened." Daniel gasped, clutching the console. "Ancient Ones?" The voice continued, soft and distant. "They do not conquer. They erase. Worlds vanish when they arrive. My people tried to fight them once. We lost everything." The vision ended. Daniel opened his eyes, breathing heavily. Sarah ran to him. "What happened?" He looked around slowly. She was right. There's something coming, something older than both of our species. The lights inside the ship shifted to a deep red. Malik shouted, "Incoming transmission, but not from space. It's coming from orbit." Daniel touched the console again. A holographic display appeared, showing the blackness of space filled with moving shadows. Massive shapes drifted above Earth, their forms shifting like smoke and metal. They didn't look like ships, more like living machines glowing with red energy veins. Sarah stepped back, terrified. "What are those things?" Daniel whispered. "They're here." The alien swarm moved silently, blotting out the stars. Each one was larger than a city. They made no sound, no light, only a low hum that seemed to shake the air itself. Then one of them turned, revealing a symbol. A spiral of light that burned with strange runes. It was the same mark Daniel saw on the ship's inner wall. Malik's hands trembled. "Captain, if these things can destroy the Xelyth, we don't stand a chance." Daniel stared at the hologram, his voice steady. "Then we make one." He sat in the glowing chair. The ship reacted instantly. Lights flared, systems activated, and symbols aligned around him. The chamber shook as power surged through the ice. The survivors shielded their eyes from the blinding blue light. When it faded, the ship was awake. Panels unfolded, engines roared beneath the ice, and the entire cavern vibrated. The ship slowly lifted off the ground, breaking through the frozen ceiling like thunder. Snow and shards of ice exploded into the sky as the silver vessel rose into the air, majestic and alive. Inside the cockpit, Daniel could feel it. The ship wasn't just metal. It was alive, like it could sense his thoughts. Lir'ra's voice echoed faintly again. "The ship is linked to your mind. It will answer to your will. You are the bridge now, between our species." He gripped the controls. "Then let's see what you can do." The ship soared higher, leaving a trail of light across the night sky. The survivors watched from below, awe in their eyes. For the first time in months, humanity had something that could fight back. As the ship entered orbit, Daniel saw them clearly. The ancient fleet. Dozens, maybe hundreds of living vessels, dark and immense. They were feeding on the energy around Earth's atmosphere, drawing power from storms and satellites. The sight was haunting and beautiful. One of them turned its glowing red eye toward Daniel's ship. A deep vibration filled the air, like a whisper that crawled into his bones. "Human, you are not meant to exist." Daniel's eyes widened. "It's speaking." Sarah's voice came through the comms from below. "Captain, what's happening?" He didn't answer. The alien entity's voice filled his mind again, emotionless and cold. "Your world will be silenced. You carry the taint of rebellion, the echo of her kind." Daniel gritted his teeth. "Then you'll have to silence me first." He pulled the controls and the ship responded instantly. A wave of light burst from its core, forming a shimmering energy shield. The alien fleet reacted. Several of them turned toward him, energy beams forming like thunderclouds ready to strike. Daniel whispered, "Lir'ra, I hope you're watching." The sky exploded. Beams of red light tore through the darkness, colliding with his ship's barrier. The force shook him violently, alarms flashing, metal groaning. But the ship held. The blue core flared brighter, and Daniel felt power rush through him like lightning. He focused, and the ship fired back. Streams of pure energy cutting through the void. One of the massive creatures screamed, its body tearing apart into light and dust. The others pulled back, regrouping. For the first time, Daniel realized something incredible. They could be hurt. He smiled faintly. Not bad for a dead species. The stars burned above and the war for Earth had begun again. But this time, humanity wasn't just fighting to survive. They were fighting with the power of two worlds. And somewhere, deep within the galaxy, a faint signal flickered alive. Lir'ra's ship, responding to the same ancient call. The stars burned red above the Earth. The sky was alive with chaos, beams of light, falling debris, and explosions that painted the dark void in fire. Daniel gripped the glowing controls of the alien ship, sweat running down his face. Every movement felt like lightning through his veins. The ship was fast, powerful, but it was outnumbered. The ancient fleet surrounded Earth like a storm of shadows. Their ships were not made of metal, but living matter, black and shifting with eyes that glowed like dying suns. They moved in silence, devouring energy, absorbing the remains of satellites and human stations. Daniel spoke through the comms, voice steady despite the shaking hull. Sarah, Malik, and are you receiving this? Sarah's voice came through static. We see them, Captain. The whole sky's burning. What's the plan? Daniel glanced at the energy meter. The ship's power core pulsed with blue light, but it was draining fast. The plan is to make sure they never reach the surface. Malik's voice cut in. That's suicide. Daniel smiled faintly. Maybe, but someone has to hold the line. He pulled the ship upward, dodging a beam of crimson light that cut through the air like a blade. The shockwave threw him back, alarmed screaming. He recovered quickly, pushing the ship higher into the swarm. One by one, the creatures turned toward him, drawn by his defiance. He fired. The ship unleashed a storm of energy blasts, slicing through the void. One of the dark vessels exploded in a burst of red mist. Another followed, then another. But for every one that fell, 3 more appeared. The sky looked endless. Then a voice, faint, distant, echoed in his mind. Daniel, do you hear me? He froze. Lir'ra? Yes. Her voice was weak but real, carried through static and distance. I'm alive. The council imprisoned me, but I escaped. I followed your signal. Relief flooded through him. You made it. Where are you? Approaching your orbit. And Daniel, you're not alone. Out of the darkness, blue lights appeared, dozens of them. Sleek alien ships emerged from hyperspace, bearing the mark of the Xelyth. They formed a defensive line behind him, their cannons glowing. Lir'ra's voice grew stronger. My people finally listened. They saw your world fighting, and they understood. We're here. Daniel felt a surge of emotion. Welcome to Earth, Commander. Let's finish this together. The alien fleet moved in perfect formation beside him. Blue and silver lights collided with the red glow of the invaders. The battle became a dance of energy and fire. Human survivors from Earth launched their last missiles, joining the fight from below. For the first time in history, humans and Xelyth fought side by side. The ancient ships shrieked through the vacuum, their voices vibrating across frequencies, trying to break the minds of their enemies. Daniel gritted his teeth, blocking out the noise. He focused everything on one goal, protecting his world. Lir'ra's ship appeared beside his. Through the glass he saw her, silver eyes shining, calm even in chaos. Their ships moved in sync, weaving between enemy fire like lightning. The core ship is in the center, she said. Destroy it and the rest will fall. Daniel nodded. Then let's cut off the head. They dove together side by side, racing through the storm of energy. The enemy's central vessel loomed ahead, massive, pulsing with dark light. It looked less like a ship and more like a living planet. Its surface opened like a mouth, releasing a beam that tore through space. Daniel's ship was hit. The cockpit exploded in sparks, alarms flashing red. His vision blurred. Lir'ra's voice came through, shouting his name. I'm fine, he grunted. Keep going. He pushed the damaged ship forward, forcing every bit of energy left into the engines. The core glowed brighter, overheating. Warnings screamed, wing critical overload. He knew what it meant. Lir'ra's voice broke through the noise. Daniel, stop. You'll die! He smiled through the pain. Someone has to make sure it ends. Her voice trembled. You don't have to do this alone. He looked at her ship flying beside his, her eyes filled with light. You gave me hope, Lir'ra. Now I'm giving it back. He locked his ship's trajectory straight toward the enemy's core. The engines roared. The ship blazed with blue light, brighter than the stars. Goodbye, Daniel, she whispered. Goodbye, Commander. The two ships accelerated together, blue and silver streaks cutting through the darkness. They collided with the ancient vessel's heart. A massive explosion erupted, brighter than a sunrise, tearing through the void. The shockwave spread across the sky, shattering the enemy fleet into fragments of burning red dust. From Earth, it looked like dawn breaking across the night. Silence followed. Then cheers rose from every surviving human camp. The skies cleared, and the stars returned, peaceful and bright again. Days later, Sarah stood on a hill overlooking the ruins of the old world. Malik stood beside her, scanning the horizon. Any sign of the ships? She shook her head. None, the alien fleet's gone. The signal too, Malik sighed. So that's it? Sarah looked up at the stars. No, I don't think it's over. I think they're still out there, watching. Above the clouds. Far beyond sight, a small flicker of blue light moved through space. Slow, steady, alive. Lir'ra's voice, faint but warm. echoed through the void. Humans are not what we thought they were. They are chaos. They are hope. And because of them, we live. Somewhere in the endless dark, a new alliance was born, one built not on fear but on understanding. The war for survival had ended, but a greater journey had just begun. Humanity had looked into the face of extinction and taught the stars what it truly meant to fight for life.